Well, big sigh, I'm afraid. Look, I do think Zoolander is very funny, and it is, as you quite rightly say in that interview, it's something that's just grown in stature over the years to the point that now I think most people would now know it from DVD and they've seen it on television reruns, and consequently it has become, eminently quotable. And I think that therefore when there was news that Zoolander 2 was coming out, I was really excited about it. And actually I thought the first trailer was really funny. And I went into this wanting it to be really funny and then realizing that I just wasn't laughing. And it suffers from exactly that problem that sequels so often suffer from. It's overly plotted, because you kind of feel like in order to make, to justify its existence, it has to have this, convoluted, an unnecessary plot. Whereas before we had that delightfully throwaway cameo from David Bowie, which really just kind of turns up out of nowhere and is wonderful. Now you've got to build up to much more sort of portentous rock star cameos, and everywhere you look, there are famous faces desperate to be in on the joke in a kind of mugging way. And what it's lost is the sort of outsider sense that it had before. So what you get is something which, when it works because it reminds you of the original. But a lot of the time, it just reminds you how much more you're enjoying. I mean, I've laughed all the way through the original several times in, various parts. It was funny because you were talking about when it first came out. I don't think we were even on air that particular week. And
it came out just before
9/11. Yeah, so I think there wasn't a show then, and so you hadn't seen it at the time, and the disappointment for me is partly because I really wanted it to be smart and funny and acerbic, and I like the characters and I like the idea of them coming back, and it was about 10-15 minutes in when I realised that the thing I just wasn't doing was laughing. It felt like somehow the joke had been co-opted. Somehow the joke had been turned into something that it wasn't in the first place, something which everybody wanted to be in on. And I do think it's to do with that difference. A movie which opens and isn't... Spinal Tap's another example of something which wasn't a huge hit and then over the years became sort of immensely quotable. It's just a real shame. So you end up with these big set pieces, you end up with all this globe trotting, you end up with, just loads and loads of stuff, narrative all over the place, when actually what you really wanted was just the simple, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. That's what you wanted. And it just felt, comedy is best when it's, when it's on the hoof, when it's light, when it's, and this, it just felt lumpen. It felt like this great big movie lumbering around some comedy set pieces. Now, that's not to say that it isn't without any pleasures at all, because there are a couple of chuckles, although I did ask you afterwards, you said it passed the 6 laugh test for you.
Yeah, I think so.
I confess it didn't for me. It didn't.
Well, 6 is quite a low bar. That's all.
Yeah, and that's what there was whole oases of it when I was just thinking, why isn't this funny? And believe me, I went in wanting it to be funny. I went in with an awful lot of goodwill, and I came out with, I have to confess, a rather heavy heart.